Daemons, personified spirits of the human condition and abstract concepts. The concept of daemons, or personified spirits, played a significant role in ancient Greek thought. These figures were not individual gods with unique mythologies, but rather the personifications of human emotions, conditions, and abstract qualities. Their names are simply capitalized nouns in Greek, representing the very essence of their domain. For example, Eros is love, Thanatos is death, and Dike is justice. The nature of daemons. The Greeks understood these spirits as active forces influencing human life, embodying states of being and abstract principles. Unlike the major deities of Mount Olympus, these entities had little personal mythology. They were more like symbols given a form, reinforcing how fundamental emotions, moral values, and aspects of life were viewed in antiquity. Some of these spirits were depicted in art and literature, while others existed primarily in philosophical and religious discussions. Personifications of the human condition and emotions. The daemons can be categorized into several groups: emotions and states of mind: love, Eros; hate, Eris; fear, Phobos; hope, Elpis; and grief, Penthos. Aspects of the human condition: birth, Eileithyia; old age, Geros; sleep, Hypnos; death, Thanatos; and poverty, Penia. Qualities: strength, Kratos; beauty, Aglaia; grace, Charis; and wisdom, Sophia. Moral aspects: justice, Dike; truth, Aletheia; lies, Appy; and moderation, Sophrosine. Speech and communication: persuasion, Peitho; rumor, Ossa; and eloquence, Euphrosyne. Actions and events: victory, Nike; war, Polemos; labor, Ponos; and retribution, Poena. Aspects of society: peace, Irene; law, Nomos; and democracy, Democratia. Most of these spirits were purely conceptual, but a few, such as Eros, love, and Nike, victory, were worshipped with shrines or minor cults. From a biblical perspective, the idea of personifying abstract concepts is not entirely foreign. The Bible often speaks of wisdom, Sophia, in personal terms, e.g., Proverbs 8, and justice, righteousness, and mercy are presented as tangible forces rather than mere abstractions. However, the distinction remains that in biblical thought, these qualities are attributes of God rather than independent beings. The Greek worldview, in contrast, saw these spirits as distinct forces that influenced human affairs, sometimes in contention with one another. The Greek view versus biblical understanding. The ancient Greek worldview was deeply polytheistic, seeing divine influences behind every aspect of human existence. From love to war, from justice to vengeance, the Greeks personified these forces, making them tangible entities within their religious framework. In contrast, the biblical perspective presents a monotheistic view where all aspects of life are governed by the will of a single creator. Rather than assigning different divine beings to emotions and human experiences, the Bible describes such things as natural parts of life, governed by wisdom, moral responsibility, and the will of God. For example, love, Eros, Philia, agape in Greek thought, is central to biblical teaching but is not deified. Instead, it is a virtue to be cultivated. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7. Justice, Dike, is an essential principle in Scripture, but is attributed to God's righteous character. Deuteronomy 32:4. Fear, Phobos, is sometimes seen negatively, but also has a positive meaning when referring to reverence for God. Proverbs 9:10. Additionally, the Bible warns against viewing abstract forces as separate spiritual entities. In biblical teaching, sin, righteousness, and wisdom are not gods or spirits, but are aspects of human character and divine guidance. The Greek tendency to personify these elements led to polytheism, while biblical monotheism sees all these principles as part of God's creation and moral law. The role of daemons in pagan thought. The idea of daemons influenced later philosophical traditions, including the works of Plato and Aristotle, who discussed them as intermediary beings or moral archetypes. Stoic and Neoplatonic thinkers sometimes refined these ideas, seeing them as representations of higher realities. However, biblical teaching rejects the notion of multiple divine forces controlling different aspects of life. Instead, it affirms that all power and wisdom come from the one God, who is the ultimate source of justice, truth, and love. While the Greek worldview saw these daemons as independent forces influencing human affairs, the biblical tradition attributes such qualities and experiences to the providence of God. Justice, for instance, is not an autonomous spirit, but an attribute of God's character. Similarly, love is not a separate deity, but an expression of divine will. 1 John 4:8. In biblical thought, the struggle between forces like strife, Eros, and peace, Irene, or justice, Dike, and lawlessness, dysnomia, is not a battle between personified spirits, but a moral and ethical conflict within humanity. The Bible presents these concepts as choices rather than inevitabilities imposed by supernatural entities. Conclusion. The personified spirits of the Greek pantheon illustrate how deeply ingrained human experiences and moral concepts were in ancient thought. However, while these figures played a role in Greek mythology, biblical teaching presents a different view, one that sees justice, love, wisdom, and even struggle as elements of human life under the guidance of God, not as separate entities to be worshipped. This distinction between polytheistic and monotheistic worldviews highlights the contrast between ancient Greek philosophy and biblical revelation, emphasizing the sovereignty of the Creator over overall aspects of existence.